Come on, 2, 3.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Monday, May 16th, 2022. And our top story today, how to avoid traffic congestion and find your parking space. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Jeff Perkins is the Chief Executive Officer of Park Mobile. Jeff, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Excited to be here.
Yeah, and as I said in the green room, it's always nice to see another handsome Jeff and have that person on the program. So great to have you. And Jeff, I love this topic because I want to start off the conversation. You know, driving around, I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I lived in New York. I lived in Baltimore. Baltimore is my hometown. A lot of congestion, a lot of traffic, a lot of sporting events, concerts, etc. Really hard for me to find a parking space where I'm going. And I know you and the folks at Park Mobile have a unique solution to this problem for many Americans.
We do. So you're exactly right. Cities are getting more crowded by the week and the month. I think maybe we had a little reprieve during COVID where people were working from home. But if you live in Charlotte, I live in Atlanta, cities are back and traffic is back. And it's a challenge when you're living in these cities. And so the people who run the cities, the transportation professionals, it's really important to them that cities are livable and cities aren't just in total gridlock all the time. And so we have a solution that we believe helps cities, one, help people park a lot smarter, but also show them where the open parking spots are around them. So we have a feature in the Park Mobile app called Parking Availability, and that really shows you open spots in your area. So you don't have to drive into areas where there's never any spots. You drive to areas where there's open spots, or you can reserve a spot in a garage ahead of time. And so instead of driving aimlessly into town, you just book your spot ahead and then drive directly to the garage and park your car.
And look, I wish I had that when the Orioles were really good, the Baltimore Orioles or the Yankees. The Orioles don't draw a huge amount of fans right now. They're working on changing that. Can you talk a little bit about the underlying, the infrastructure, the technology, being able to direct people to a parking garage or a parking place, I would imagine requires infrastructure, the technology, the connectivity to not only the app, but to the parking garage itself.
Yeah, so within the parking industry and the parking mobility industry, there are hundreds of technologies out there, software, hardware, gates, and part of being in this industry is that you have to integrate to all of them. So Park Mobile has over 100 integrations to really every parking technology out there. And so when we go into work with a city or we go to work with a parking operator, they tell us what they have in their technology stack. And almost 100% of the time we can integrate with their tools. So if you have maybe a pay station or a parking meter, we can integrate with that technology. If you have gates in your garage, we can integrate with your gates. So rather than putting a ticket into a machine, if you take a ticket, you can scan it with the Park Mobile app and make your payment, and then the gate will lift. And so, yeah, you do have to integrate with tons of different technologies, but we've been around now since 2008. So we've really kind of evolved as the parking industry has evolved. And so we integrate with everything. And that makes it really easy for cities or operators to work with us because whatever technology they have, we can work within that technology.
Just taking a step back for a second, Jeff, and thanks for that answer. It's really fascinating, actually, from my perspective. I think the audience probably would agree. Let's take a step back because cities, there's a lot that goes into city planning or state planning or local town planning, part of which is traffic management. And I have to think that the data that you're gathering on where parking spaces are helps drive future infrastructure, whether it's a small town, a large city, municipality.
Exactly. So what's really exciting from a city perspective is that, you rewind 10, 20 years ago, and cities were flying blind when it came to parking and traffic and things like that. It was really hard for them to kind of get their arms around it. Now with solutions like what Park Mobile has, we can provide a city with real-time data on who's parking where and when for any time of day and any day of the week. So as a city operator, you know that there are certain parts of the city that there's never parking available. And then there's certain parts of the city where there's always parking available. But what happens in a lot of cities is that the parking rates for the high demand areas and the parking rates for the low demand areas are exactly the same.
Yep.
So a smart city is starting to look at this data and saying, hey, you can never find a parking spot in this part of the city. Maybe we should increase the price here to get cars turning more often and change the policy. So instead of letting cars sit there for 4 hours, let's only let them sit for 1 or 2 hours. But then in other areas where there's less demand, you have to look at that policy, say maybe we lower the price here, or we keep it the same and extend the hours. And so cities can make much more interesting and informed decisions on what their parking policies are. And that's going to help make the cities a lot more livable going forward into the future. So that's really exciting. The other thing I think is really interesting, cities in the past have had to make major capital expense in things like parking hardware on the street. So you still go to cities and you see every parking spot, there's a meter and it takes coin, and those are expensive. And then you have to manage them and you have to repair them over time. In a lot of the cities that we work with, you're now seeing upwards of 70 to 75% of the parking transactions are going through a mobile app now. And what's great about that is now cities can say, hey, we can reduce our capital expense on all this hardware, and we can open up the sidewalks more. So you can take some of these maybe unattractive looking old parking meters off the street if everyone's going to use the app. So cities really like that. We call it going asset light. So you don't have to spend a ton of taxpayer dollars on all of this hardware going forward. You just buy a couple kiosks, and then you know that most people are going to pay via the app.
Yeah, I would imagine cities and taxpayers like it because it redirects funds to services that are being consumed: police, firefighter, emergency personnel, street cleaners, etc., all serving a very important role. Jeff, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about parking, traffic congestion, and how to solve the daily rigors of traveling and commuting into a city. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Jeff Perkins. He's the Chief Executive Officer for Park Mobile. Jeff, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Great conversation so far.
It is a great conversation. And, our network's about wellness and lifestyle, improving the ability to park, getting rid of the traffic jams and congestion really helps reduce the stress levels and get people healthy. Jeff, let me start off this segment by asking you, a lot of us have a mobile phone. Many of us do. How difficult, is there a learning curve to using the Park Mobile app? For example, if I'm not tech savvy, can I figure it out?
We have a dedicated team here that is really single-mindedly focused on making the app experience as easy as possible. I mean, we think about it as really a Fisher-Price type experience. It should not be complicated for anyone. Most people can open the app and complete a parking transaction in under 30 seconds. So it's really not complicated. It's really easy to use. And we give people multiple options. So we do have an app for Android and iOS. Most people use those apps, but sometimes people go to a city and, you don't want to download an app for everything you do. And we hear that from a lot of consumers that, I don't want to put another app on my phone. So they just use the meter. So we also offer a web app. So you don't even have to download a full featured app from the iOS or Android store. You can just go to parkmobile.io and use our lightweight web app to pay for parking as well. You can also scan a QR code. A lot of our stickers you see on the meters, there's a QR code there. There's a text to park option. So you text a message and you get a link and that takes you right into the flow where you can pay for parking. And you can use the Google Pay app as well. So if you have the Google Pay app on your phone, you can open the Google Pay app and you can make a parking transaction right there. So really, any way someone wants to pay for parking through Park Mobile, we offer those options because we know not everyone is going to download the full-featured mobile app. So it's very important to us that we meet consumers where they are and that we're providing multiple ways that they can pay.
Yeah, that seems to be consistent across every industry I hear, Jeff. I mean, whether it's streaming, whether it's content creation and parking, it's meeting the consumer where they are. You and the team at Park Mobile recently announced a partnership with the city of Jacksonville. So when I think of Park Mobile, I've lived in New York. I live in Charlotte, as I mentioned. I grew up in Baltimore. Very familiar with your services, obviously in the big cities. But these, what many Americans might consider smaller cities like Jacksonville, that's a growing community. So you all are working with really growing cities as well as existing big metropolises.
Yeah. So what's interesting about looking at the United States and looking at parking and mobile adoption across the U.S., you have some parts of the country that are very developed. A lot of the big cities, they've had mobile apps for multiple years. But then you have some other cities that are pretty big that have never had a mobile app. And Jacksonville is a good example. Jacksonville is really a high growth city. I think now they're ranked 12th or 13th for total population in the cities. And that's a city that up until last week never had a mobile app. They were still using single space parking meters. And so this is really, I think for the city, going to modernize their parking program. And in fact, there's been huge excitement in the city since we launched. Usually people don't get that excited about parking or issues related to parking. But we've had people filming TikToks about how excited they are that Park Mobile is coming to town. And finally, Jacksonville has a mobile app. And I think it is a sign for a lot of cities also that we are a modern, progressive city because we have an app where you can pay for parking. We hear that a lot from cities, that it's really an indicator that we are kind of a next gen, or we're a modern city and the parking app is kind of part of showing that off. So we're really excited to launch in Jacksonville. We just launched also in Des Moines, Iowa, another great capital of Iowa, great city. And so we have, while we have a really good roster of cities, 500 plus cities, there are still a lot of cities left to go that don't have a mobile app, but we think we're going to continue to expand our business and continue to add Park Mobile into a lot more cities in the next couple of years.
Well, I have to bet that Jacksonville Jaguar fans are probably stoked, especially with the last two drafts. They got some really great players. Sounds like they're beating the team. They're building a great team. They're going to be able to park now near and around the stadium for those games. I guess last question, Jeff, this is more of a tongue-in-cheek question, but have you guys, folks at Park Mobile, figured out a way to avoid the fender bender?
We have not figured out a way to avoid the fender bender. I'll leave that to Elon Musk and Tesla to figure that out. But we have, to your previous point, we have figured out how to make game day parking easier for people. And so we work with stadiums across the country where you can book a parking reservation in a lot around a stadium. And so instead of driving to the game and not knowing where you're going to park and getting waved into some random lot and paying $50, we show you all the inventory around the stadium for a specific event. And then we let you pick the lot that you want to park in based on what you want. So maybe when I put the kids in the minivan and we go down into the town, I want to make sure we're parked very close to the stadium. Sometimes though, if I'm going with my buddies and we want to go to maybe a bar or restaurant before the game, I'll pick a lot maybe a little further away that's close to the bars and restaurants. So it really gives you all the options. And generally it's either the same price or sometimes even cheaper than when you drive in and pay when you just drive up to the lot. So I encourage everyone to check out the prepaid reservations. Not a lot of people do it today, but I think over time, that's really the next big thing for us, is that you're not going to leave the house going to a concert or sporting event without knowing where you're going to park and having that parking reserved with Park Mobile. It
really allows you to focus on the experience as opposed to, oh man, I got to leave early because I got to get parking. Look, I remember the days where we used to be season ticket holders at the Baltimore Colts games. Yes, folks, the Indianapolis Colts were originally in Baltimore, and it was bumper to bumper, and getting out of the stadium was a pain in the rear end. Jeff, we're going to have to leave it there. Really great conversation, amazing technology. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be with you.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more in all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Well, of course, visit our website and our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung. You've got over 100 to choose from. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired, come on.
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited? And do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.